Hello, folks. Just waiting for Chris to jump on. Hey guys, what's up? Just waiting on Chris to come on. Hey, Chris.
Hey, man.
How are you?
I'm good, I think.
Sweet. I posted the link on the YouTube link in the page as well. So if people want it, they can get it there as well. Let me put some headphones on.
Say that again?
Say that again?
What'd you say?
I said I also posted the link so that people can have it there.
In
I
the
know
event?
you're going live too. So
In the event?
yep.
All right, cool.
But
I'll mention that when we're starting.
It's a lovely view you have there.
I know. You can see like a Suburban or something, right?
Looks like a Honda Accord.
Oh yeah, there's a Suburban or Tahoe.
Oh yes. How's it going, dude?
It's going all right. So
I know you love technology.
I'm putting this down for 1 second, and I'm about to get it started.
Nice neck.
Yeah, thanks. Live video. I'm gonna tag you on here too, okay?
Yeah. You might want to flip yourself around.
No, I am. I'm putting that down for a second. All right, dude. Can I
Flip your phone around.
No, I will. I'm trying to I guess I can't. All right, sit tight 1 second, all right?
Yep.
Don't go anywhere.
I have nowhere to go.
All right, you still there?
Yes, sir. I am here.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
All right, we're going live.
Ah! I'm scared now.
Yeah. Can you see the screen? What is up, everybody? I'm here with my buddy Zack Miller.
Hello.
Maybe we'll wait a second for a few folks to hop on. We got 5 viewers so far, 14 viewers. What's up, guys? Y'all leave a comment down there and let us know where you're from and what your name is and all that good stuff.
You're big on wondering where people are from, Chris.
I am. Dude, hey, when I'm trying to market a book, I need to know where I'm sending them out, you know? We got 121 viewers. What's up, guys? I'm here with my buddy Zack Miller. He builds businesses for a living. Jordan, what's going on, man? We're going to start here in a minute, but I just want to tell you guys, Zack's a good friend of mine, and if you are interested at all in building a business, we have 200, almost 300 viewers. What's up, guys? Y'all are awesome. Zack builds businesses for a living, and he's a really smart guy. He recently interviewed Damon Johns. We'll talk a little bit about that. But he also has some good insights into what we can do as restaurant folks, as also as business folks, to either start businesses or maybe make them a little bit more effective. So anyway, Zach, maybe tell a little bit about yourself for everybody.
Sure. So, Chris, thanks for having me. Of course, always great to catch up.
You want to give the link to the Hangout in case somebody can't hear you?
Yeah. So it should be YouTube / NI4UCBXD9KC. If you just go to the page where you posted the video, we posted the link there. But Chris, thanks for having me. I know you and I have known each other for a few years now, and super stoked to be doing this. So I'll give you a very quick who am I type of person. So I started my first business when I was 10. I had I grew up in Northern Virginia, and I know what you're thinking. You know, Northern Virginia is the wealthiest city in the country. My parents were not wealthy. It was very much a difficult time for us to live there. And so on my 10th birthday, my grandma gave me a check for $100, and
Nice.
the nine birthdays before that, I bought video games and candy. And this year, my allowance wasn't going up, and so I said, I got to do something. And so I was mowing my own lawn, and I said, you know what, maybe I can mow other people's lawns. So I took the money, went to Home Depot or something like that, and bought a lawnmower and bought some gas for it. It was probably $100. I don't remember the exact prices. This is when things were, cheap. This is when gas was, $1.20. And so maybe even less than $1 at that point. And so I went and took the lawnmower filled with gas and just went around my neighborhood. So I lived in a suburb of DC, and I looked for lawns that needed to be mowed. And then I knocked on those doors and said, can I mow your lawn for $15? And ended up making probably a couple $1,000s doing that. Maybe several $1,000s. I don't remember the exact stuff, but I would go door to door. And I would, what was interesting is other people started saying, well, can you do landscaping? Can you put down mulch? Can you help me set stones? And so I started doing these other things that customers wanted, instead of just doing the traditional just mowing of the lawns. And what's really interesting about that is these folks would just give me, different ideas to build from there. So it was really awesome to do that. And so since then, obviously I finished out high school. I went to college, have a journalism degree, and while in college, helped start a swim team in still the Northern Virginia area. Then I moved here, and while I was here, saw a huge hole in the early. What is that image of? That's your hand.
What?
Is that your hand?
Yeah, I put the audio by my iPad so everybody could hear you.
Oh, gotcha. So I saw a huge hole in the market here in the Norfolk area for early stage companies. So there was always, and there still is, traditional ways to do them. Your kind of government backed things, and those are fine and dandy. But I felt like the context was wrong, and that as I was trying to grow a company, I wasn't able to find a place where the solution had correct context. And so it's like a professor teaching you how to start a business who never started a business. While they might have great inputs, if they've never started that business, why would I listen to them? It's just like going to ask a banker a legal question. You're going to go ask a lawyer that question, not a banker. So did that. And so basically I solved my own problem. And so we started figuring out ways to help grow early stage companies, and then people started liking what we were doing and said, well, how can I get a part of this? And so we created a business model around that. And so think of Hatch as a gym for entrepreneurs, where we're not, or where we provide companies with resources and workshops and events to help them start and grow their business. And maybe we can take the conversation like this. You know, a lot of people, we've over the last few months really gotten in with a lot of chefs. There's a culinary school locally, and a lot of them are looking at starting a food truck or maybe a brick and mortar or a catering business. And what I find is that they love the craft of cooking. And I know you love the craft of cooking, Chris. But what can be difficult is whether or not people actually love the craft of business. And what we find is that they don't. So if someone was watching this and they haven't started yet, I would recommend doing this. Going to the store, buy $30 worth of produce, buy $30 worth of product, whip up something great, and then try and sell it. And see what you learn in that process of trying to sell it, and see if you really want to go into starting a business or if you really just want to be a chef at a business. Because I think that what we find the most of is people are really good at their craft, but they hate the business side of it. That's usually where we come in. You know, we help them with the business side of it. But, you know, don't start a business because you think you love something without actually figuring out the business side of it. Because what you'll find is that you lose tens of thousands of dollars because you didn't really want to start a business. You just wanted to cook for people, and you needed to find other ways to get the business side of it on there.
It's kind of like the guy that wants to be a chef that goes to culinary school before ever actually working in a restaurant and not knowing whether or not you actually really like it and being kind of in the heat of things. So I totally agree. I know that's one of the kind of downfalls you see. What else do you see as kind of started out problems with people starting companies and starting businesses, when they don't work out or when they fail?
Yeah, I mean, I think people, one of the other number one things is not getting quality information beforehand. So really understanding how to qualify something. I usually call it the mom effect, where growing up, I have a lot of stories about my youth, by the way. This is funny. I'm growing up, and my mom tells me I'm a great singer, and then I try out for chorus. In my entire life, remember, my mom is telling me that I'm good at this thing. Then I try out for chorus, and the chorus teacher basically is like, "You're terrible, stop." And so, therefore, I lived my entire life thinking I had qualified something so that I could, keep going up the ladder to do more when I just wasn't in front of the right people. So I think oftentimes we talk to our friends and our families and associates and say, "Hey, isn't this great thing? Don't you want it?" And people are nice, so they're going to say yes. But instead, what you need to do is remove your pride from the situation and realize that a no is a really good thing. Because you can, if it is the target customer, you can figure out what you did wrong to try and learn from that. But if it's not your target customer, you can realize, oh my goodness, I don't need to go talk to that person anymore because they're not my target customer, right? So if you're cooking a specific food and it's not for the everyday person probably isn't going to be your target customer, or at least you're not marquee customer. So you don't communicate with them as much. So really trying to qualify and figure out who that target customer is really important. I think also you can get really good information from people who you think are the right qualified target customers, and just figuring out how to sift through all of the garbage. Everything that you hear is important. It's just being able to sift through and figure out what you really can learn from. And so I know someone recently that was talking about building or starting a new brick and mortar place, and everything I kept hearing was all red flags. And then they tell me how much they were going to pay for rent, and I was just like, whoa, like tens of thousands of dollars for rent, and I'm just like, you can't do this. Like, you don't have any of this qualifying. They're like, well, the people I'm talking to say, oh, this is too much money. And I said, those are red flags. These are really key points that you need to take and learn from, instead of just saying, oh, it's okay, I'll figure it out later. Because in this person's case, it was a 5-year lease. It was going to be a 7-figure guarantee to them personally.
Right. And like the thing too is people don't realize, but there's such low margins in restaurants. If you have a 10% margin, you're doing well. Versus so many other industries have a much lower cost on goods and overhead. So if you're not really thinking about those things going going into it, then you're gonna obviously struggle and you have difficult ways of making money. So I definitely hear you. Keep going
Yeah.
though.
Yeah. So Travis Weber, hey, what's up, man? Rose, Kathy, Tristan, Ariel, thank you guys for being here. A couple questions about how to get started. Look, I think it's really just like Nike has the greatest slogan of all time, just do it. And I understand it's not that easy, but you have to understand what you're going to learn from everything. And so if you have a simple idea in your head, go test it right now. Because you can learn so much from it. And so it could be just getting it in front of the person who you think wants it and then seeing if they're willing to buy it. If they say yes, then actually try and get that transaction. Getting that transaction is extremely difficult. I'm a firm believer that if you can get $5 from someone, you can get $50 from someone, you can get $500, you can get $5,000, and it tiers up. But getting that first dollar, that first few dollars is the most important thing, because getting someone to open up their wallet, I don't have my wallet on me, but getting someone to open up that wallet is the hardest thing. And so studies show that stuff on Amazon, the shopping carts get left at 90% with something in it. So if Amazon is having stuff, if Amazon has this problem, you definitely have this problem. So when someone, this is about that qualifying piece too. If someone says that they are interested in buying your product, try and make that transaction that day, even if it's not ready. And then try and say, okay, look, I'll give it to you when it's ready, and maybe I'll give you some sort of early adopter discount. But try and make those transactions. Just get started today. Because it's like, okay, if you were at Three-Way, Chris, and you wanted to try out gyros, right, which are my favorite meal at your place, or maybe the chips, right? So you want to gyros, heroes. I apologize for saying it the wrong way. So let's say you want to try out heroes, or maybe you were telling me we're going to try out barbecue. Just do it. You don't know what you don't know. Maybe it's the most popular thing you ever did, and you wish you would have done it earlier once you've done it. Or maybe everyone hates it. The worst thing that happens is that it doesn't go well. And so don't do it at a big bulk thing. So someone the other day also was like, well, I'm looking at this product, and if I buy it $5,000, I can save 13 cents per tchotchke or whatever per widget. And it's just like, are you going to have 5,000 customers? Is it really worth doing that? Or can you buy 100 of them and do it at a more effective way? And so I think people really mean well, and they really want to do well, but they get lost because they look at numbers that someone told them they need to look at from an economical standpoint. And it does make more sense to buy something at 13 cents per item instead of 37 cents. But if you don't have that validated at any kind of quantity, you're going to be sitting on that 13 cents per item, and it could sit there forever and never sell. Right. And so actually you're out of money instead of spending even 2 or 3 times the amount just to try and figure it out. A lot of early stage startups do packaging, and they're trying to figure out how do I do packaging. I just say, look, get it out there, right? I mean, if you go do this. Next time you buy from Amazon, see how they ship. Next time you buy from Apple, see how they ship. Amazon doesn't give a crap. They just want to get it to you. Apple puts a lot of extra money into their product, their packaging. And so, 2 very successful companies, but look at the way that they do packaging. Stop trying to perfect things, because your packaging isn't the most important thing. The product that you're selling is. It's just these are supplementary things that can enhance kind of the opportunity.
Well, and just because something's cheaper than something else doesn't mean that it's a better value. And I think that's where people also kind of make a mistake, because if it's not a consistent product, or if it's not something that's going to be quality for my customer, maybe I'm better off paying a little bit more per plate and still making somewhat of a profit, but maybe not quite as much.
Yeah, actually, here's a great example. Ed Jimenez, I believe is how you say his last name, says, I'm thinking of opening a restaurant that only sells breakfast and lunch, but I want my lunch to stay the same daily. What time should I close daily to be profitable? I was going to be open 5 a.m. to 2 or 3 p.m. I think, Ed, that's a great question. What you should do is figure out, when your traffic goes away. So if your traffic goes away at 12:30, then close, at 12:45, 1. If you are consistent till 2 or 3, stay open then. Another interesting way to maybe even make more money in that kind of situation is either you rent out your kitchen or your space for a restaurant or for dinner, or the opposite, find a place that is only open for dinner and see if you can use it for breakfast and lunch. Therefore, you can get a smaller rate and be more profitable in that way. But, I don't know when people are going to start coming into your restaurant. You might open at 5:30 and find that people don't come until 7:38. So you don't need to be open those 2 other hours, or you're maybe be open for those extra hours from a prep standpoint for the mad rush there. What you might find,
I would say too, Ed, what you can do is really figure out where you might want to open your restaurant and sit out on a patio somewhere close by and count how many people are going by. If it's a Starbucks or some sort of coffee shop, and literally spend as much time as you can just kind of scouting it out and figure out how many people are coming by. And obviously the numbers will change and they'll go down as the afternoon goes by. And then also, like kind of what Zach was saying too. Go ahead. What?
You can call your city economic development too, or the country you're in, or wherever you are, and ask them for a specific road zip code, and they know how many people are going in and out at all times. So you can get all that kind of data. And so you just don't know what you don't know, and so I don't want to tell you 5:30 is the right time or 2 o'clock is the right time to close when it could not be that at all. It could be that you need to be open for 2 hours, and just have a line out the door. I think people are looking like no one goes to a bar that has no one in it.
Right, and I think the thing to recognize too is that breakfast and lunch, and I know this from experience, breakfast and lunch have a lot lower margins than dinner. A lot because entrees aren't as expensive, and you're not selling any alcohol for the most part. You might be selling a little bit for lunch, so you're going to really need to get more sales per customer or per shift.
It's just about spinning people, right? Breakfast and lunch are about spinning people in and out. Dinner is a longer thing where you're an hour, where, breakfast and lunch, you're like 20, 30 minutes, let's get you in. It's a quantity standpoint where, if your ticket prices, the diner here, average ticket price is probably $7, but the average dinner at another place is probably $15. So, it's all about numbers. It's that an interesting thing. When I was growing up, I worked at Home Depot in the paint department. And what they found was that there was people overnight working, but people throughout the evening were looking, from 10 to 4 a.m. Wanted to go there. So they actually realized that they could stay open 24/7 and just keep one cashier on and still be profitable in that kind of way. So it's and don't look at it one day at either, right? And don't look at it a week. Look at it in a specific amount of time and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. Maybe it's 30 days, but then also realize where your seasons are, right? And so things definitely ebb and flow. And I think a lot of people forget that, where they go, every business, depending on a lot of different factors, have the effect of the Thanksgiving to Christmas situation, where for 40 days it's really busy, and sometimes it's not, and so you just got to try and figure out those things.
And then also too, like one of the ways to also get more sales, if you can't figure out while you're open, is catering is a great opportunity. So if you're only open for breakfast and lunch, you can maybe try and you keep the kitchen open and try and do a big catering business, or maybe even find ways to do extra business in the morning and maybe have people stay for prep for the morning. So
I think it's all about the amount of time that you put into something, but being able to track it in a specific way. And so whether it's the time you're open, the amount of food that you're trying to sell, everything should be data. And so because then you can look at it and say, look, I'm not making an emotional decision. So another thing that a lot of people do, Chris, is they make emotional decisions. They make decisions that are based off of what they love or think is going well, but then when they actually look at it, they realize that it wasn't good. And so I try and tell people, take an inventory of your life, right? It's Monday morning, so you can do it today. Take an inventory, of your life, and say, this is what I'm doing, this is the ROI I'm getting. So if you go to a networking event every single week and you get nothing out of it, maybe you shouldn't go, but you love to go to this networking event because it makes you feel good about yourself, but there's no ROI on it. You don't get anything in return. You should probably look at that from a data standpoint and say, this isn't the right fit for me. And even though emotionally I'm enjoying it, it's not doing good for me from a business perspective. And you should maybe remove it. And so I think a lot of people get emotions into it. I think a lot of people also think that they're working harder than they are. And I think when they actually go down their inventory and say, wow, I'm actually only working 30 hours a week, or I'm only working 15 hours a week, but I happen to be on Facebook and Twitter and Netflix for 100 hours a week, they go, wow. I mean, unless those are your businesses, right? But when you're trying to grow and you look at what you're doing and you say, wow, I'm actually wasting a lot of time, I think people learn that they're not doing all that they thought they were.
For me, I think, yeah, I agree 100%. I think a lot of it is, I'm a big Seth Godin fan, and a lot of it is so you have an idea, like Zach said, why not try it out? And you don't want to try it out to the point where it's gonna bankrupt you or ruin your family, or you're not gonna be able to pay rent. But how can you try it out in a way that's gonna give you some feedback and say, okay, this might work next time, or maybe I need to change things up and try it a little bit different. What can I do to try and make this work? And just keep trying different things until you figure it out.
But here's the thing, you're going to do that anyway once you launch. You're going to learn from it. So why waste a ton of money to figure out that it wasn't going to work in the first place? And so we work with a lot of companies, hundreds of companies every year. And the one thing that continues up is, I'll do this when this happens, right? It's like a gym. I'll go to the gym on Monday. Well, it's Wednesday. Why don't you go on Wednesday? Or, I'm going to go to the gym right now. It's the same effect for that. And I don't understand why people have that, they want it to be perfect mentality, but knowing that it's never going to be perfect, right? So Facebook isn't perfect. Facebook is always changing, right? You're on Facebook Live right now. They're testing out new features to see if it's something that they want to implement. There's plenty of these things that they've done over the years that they've looked at their data and said, you know what? It seems like it's a good thing. People love it, but it's really not. And our data shows this. So they scrape it. And so.
Well, and I think we all know why, for the most part, it's like, Zach, starting a company, like I've started a couple myself. When you say you're going to do something, everybody that sees it on Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat, whatever, and they expect you to be doing this certain thing. And then you're putting yourself out there, and if it doesn't work out, then obviously it hurts and it sucks. But if you don't put it out there, then you kind of never know,
Sorry, I'm just trying to reply to a couple questions.
Yeah, if you see some questions you want answered, go for it.
Yeah, I think that life, not to get spiritual in this in any kind of way, but I think a lot of people in life pray for opportunities, or they just ask for opportunities all the time. And opportunities are given to you every day. It's raising your hand and taking them, which we don't do. And, I became a host of a TV show this past year, and that totally was not a part of the way I started 2015 or 2015. So I guess I've been doing it for a year now. And so, but the opportunity came up, and it wasn't the company saying, hey, we want you to be the host. It's saying, hey, do you know who could be the host? And I'm sitting there going, well, do I raise my hand? Absolutely raise your hand.
Right.
I think oftentimes we're not selfish enough. And then we sit here and we ask, we say, oh, why can't my life be like this? Or I hate this. Like you control everything that you want to do. And, I've been in really bad situations in my life. And I've been in positions financially that I wasn't happy with, but we have to want to fight through and make those things happen. And so whether it's you create your own company or just find a way to reduce some of the clutter in your life, like happiness is so important. And we will be happier if we take more of the opportunities that are given to us.
Yeah.
And, it's just, you don't know what you don't know. And so just like starting a business, like I didn't know what I was getting into with the TV show. I didn't know if financially it was going to make sense, or if it was going to be a full-time job, or was I going to have to wear a suit every day? Wasn't willing to wear the suit every day, obviously. But all these
Me,
little
that's
things
why I
that
quit the corporate gig.
yeah, and so but we don't know until we raise our hand, right? And so then this past summer, I got offered an opportunity to try out for a national TV show. And so, of course, I raised my hand for that too. I didn't get that position. I didn't get that gig. But it was one of those things where I said, okay, I think this can help build the company that I built. Why not jump on this opportunity? And so I don't, just because you raise your hand doesn't mean you have to accept it, right? And so just explore an option. And so I looked at that and said, okay, let's explore the TV show gig. And then when the second TV show opportunity came up, let's explore it and see what happens. The worst thing that happens is you get it, or they say no. And guess what? You learn from that. And so I think it's just one of those things where, when you want something, go after it because you can control it. At the end of the day, you can still say no when something gets there.
Talk for a minute about, I've done a good job with this, and obviously you have with the TV show and everything, but about building a platform and how, so many people kind of jump in and start whether it's a restaurant or any sort of company and don't really have the backbone or the infrastructure or the audience to really kind of get it off the ground.
Yeah.
And the more you kind of work on building that up front, the better off you're going to be kind of both short and long term.
Yeah, so I disagree with you a little bit on that. I think we do have a backbone of that. I think we have an inventory of life that we've been building for however long we've been alive. So if you're 18 years old, if you're 15 years old, if you're 31 like me, how old are you, Chris? Like 33?
Yep.
So if you're 33, if you're 50, if you're 75, you've lived your life and you've met a lot of people, right? So hold on now.
I do. I'll let you finish, then I'll give my rebuttal.
All right, this is going to get good then.
Yeah,
so that's the first way I would start, right? Because if you're trying to acquire a new customer, it's more expensive than to keep a customer. And so on that premise, if you have been investing someone in your life, and I'm not saying that they're necessarily qualified people, but you have had a relationship with that person, and it's far easier for you to reach back out to that person than it is to try and find someone new. And so that is always where I would start day one, is look at my inventory of my life, of who I've met, and see who has a connection to where I want to go. And start there, because it's a lot easier to reacquaint yourself with someone than to try and find someone and put them through some sort of sales funnel of inbound marketing tactics or to get them to your restaurant when you could just reach out to people that might be a good fit. All right, let's hear your rebuttal.
I agree 100% with, use the resources you have, use your family, your friends, all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, you need to be able to stand alone, because I can tell you, for me, Zack, I moved to Virginia, started the restaurant. I pretty much created things out of necessity because I didn't have a brand, so I did my best to kind of build that. And then I look at my chef brand now and different companies I've started and everything, and I, for the first 3 years, relied on trying to get my family and my friends to support me, which they have for sure, but that only gets you so far. And then to kind of hit the tipping point and to really, I think, make something successful, I think you have to, like you have, I think you've become.
So
more
I think we're okay. So let me go deeper on that. I agree with you too. So it's not just getting them to support you. They're going to support you as it is. What I'm saying is allow them to get you in front of those next step of people. And so, you can only ask your mom for so much money. You can only ask your friends to come to your store so often. But how can you leverage a relationship with them to get them to do those next steps as well, so that you kind of have these champions? And so a couple other things that we've done, I think, fairly well is we're very different. So we're in a very conservative town in the Virginia Beach, Norfolk area of Virginia, so southeastern Virginia, 3 hours south of DC and probably 3 hours northeast of Raleigh-Durham. And it's a different world where people are just okay. They're just relaxed and they're okay. And so when a young whippersnapper that is me comes to town and is rocking jeans and a t-shirt and sometimes even shorts and a t-shirt and is trying to tell someone how to do business that, you know, for the 150-year-old industry that is there has been wearing a suit every day, it looks really, it's really odd. But here's the thing. I was different. And I was, for the first time ever, someone that didn't look the same trying to change something. So there has historically been people that have tried doing what we've done, but they still all looked the same. So there was no difference maker. And so not only did I look different, then we started doing things different. We didn't just start doing business the same way that everyone else had historically done it. And so by being different, in as simply as, you know, the dress, I think that has been a huge thing, because people are like, it's controversial now with the TV show too, right? So we get messages all the time where people are like, oh, we can't take you serious. You got jeans and t-shirt on, you know, we can't take you serious. And you know what? That's my uniform. That's fine. Like, I'm sorry.
You're not for everybody. I mean, nobody is.
Yeah. You know, I'm sorry that you think that you need to judge someone by the book cover. And so I don't think that's right. And I never have. You know, it's just one of those things where, you know, I care that people, he's not here. He's not here. I don't care that, or I care that, you know, people have opinions, but I want to be myself in my business, and that's extremely important for me. And so if someone doesn't like that I bring my dog to work every day, if someone doesn't like the fact that I dress different than them, then I respect that they have an opinion, but I'm not going to change my life that I've focused really hard on building something that makes me happy to do that. And I wouldn't judge someone else that way either. Everyone should be happy, and everyone should find those things that make them happy to do those things.
I have a question for you along the same lines. One thing I see in restaurants a lot, and this is something I struggled with the first couple of years, was, you know, like, we want, as chefs, we want to create our own food, and we want to, like, all right, this is me and this is my food, what I stand for. But then at the same time, we're kind of trying to figure it out, and we feel like our customers want something different. And, you know, how do you think, I kind of have my own thoughts on it, but how do you think you kind of walk that fine line of making sure that the customers get what they want, essentially, and so that you're profitable, but at the same time, you don't kind of give in and give up your artistry?
Yeah, I mean, I gave a talk once, and it was really weird. It's probably this time last year. I was asked to keynote an art expo or something like that, and I was like, why are they asking me to do this? Because I'm not an artist. I don't have an art company, or at least I didn't at that time, and I'm trying to figure out why they want me to speak there. And so what I realized was that none of these people knew how to actually make money on their business. And so I think you have to realize that there's a difference between a hobby and a business. And so a hobby is something that you love and you don't make money off of. A business is something that you hopefully love too, and do make business off of. And so if no one's buying your thing, it's because you're doing one of a few things. Number one, you might not be getting in front of the right person, right? Number two is maybe people don't want what you want. And while that sucks, I would look at that from a business perspective and say, this is really, 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 really good information that I'm receiving. And how can I take that information and learn from it to try and figure out how I can continue my craft. Maybe your craft is this. Maybe you create a menu that is what everyone wants. And then for those that want something a little different, you can have your chef special be that one thing that makes you very unique. And so don't allow yourself to not do the thing that you want to do, but make sure that you can stay in business too by catering to other people. So a great example in what we do is we were hosting a lot of meetups and a lot of workshops, educational seminars similar to this, where we would guide people through a specific process. And people would say, Zach, I really want to be a part of this thing, but I can't come at this time. And I say, well, that's really interesting. What can I do to make sure that this person comes in? Right. And so we started recording these things. We started streaming these things so that no matter what, that answer couldn't be their excuse. So if someone wants that on-demand thing, right? If someone wants to watch an educational business workshop at 2 a.m, they can do that because we give them that access. And so I think sometimes it's listening to those people and not taking it as, oh, this jerk doesn't like my food, when instead taking that and saying, okay, I'm listening to what they're saying. Maybe if I hear that enough, I can create something around that.
I think a good example of that is Tom Colicchio. He started doing Top Chef 10 years ago or so, and he has Kraft up in he has a bunch of them now, but up in New York back then it was the only one. And Kraft is like really clean, just like the flavors and the ingredients kind of speak for themselves. And what he found was once they opened, all these people, as he started getting recognition for Top Chef, they started coming in and saying, well, this food's like nothing special. And he saw that people didn't really appreciate his food that much because it was so very minimalistic. And then so what he started doing was every Tuesday he started doing a really special Tom Colicchio night every Tuesday, where it was like off the wall, pretty badass stuff. And that way he was able to kind of still do the main thing the restaurant was known for, but then he was also able to, all right, that's not just what I am, this is what I'm really about too.
Someone told me this recently too, and it was really interesting. I think kind of along those lines. When you're trying to market your restaurant, how do people market it, right? And so the example, I know you've been here. There's a place called Handsome Biscuit, and they make sweet potato biscuits within different kind of toppings, I guess, or sandwiches. But the whole premise is around the sweet potato. Pizza is pizza, right? So when you're trying to market something that no one knows, it can be really difficult if they can't even explain it themselves, right? And so if it's falafel, right, it's easy to understand there's things around falafel. But if you have a lot of different things, it could be hard for someone to explain that. So I would, I love the idea of just doing Tuesday one specific way, or maybe just doing, having a different menu, and then having kind of the chef special be something as well. And so don't lose your art in it, but make sure that you are catering to the people that want to come to you and enjoy you. But try and introduce them to some other things. I mean, how often have you been to a restaurant and they're like, oh, do you want to try this free appetizer? They're introducing you that appetizer because they want you to buy it later. So maybe, go think of the Costco's or the food courts in your mall. Why do you think they keep giving you this free, the small little pieces of chicken, of General Tso's chicken? There's a reason why. They're trying to introduce you and entice you into something, right? So sometimes, if you're sitting there going, why isn't this selling? Well, have you introduced it to someone? I mean, is it a word that no one even knows? Right, so that I would look at all these things and saying people are finding excuses as to why they're not working. If the product really doesn't suck and it really is good, like Jeannie, she was posting, she sells cookies. There's nothing special about selling a cookie. Who buys cookies? People buy them every day. Oreos, Chips Ahoy, whatever. Her marketing is by giving out small little samples to people. But here's the thing: it's a $50 cookie that tastes amazing. It's like it's like a cookie. She takes these cookies and puts custom text on them and images, and they're really, really good. But here's the thing: they're fresh and made to order daily, and I bought them a lot. She got a lot of customers in doing these things, and so cookietext.com. But the thing is, you have to differentiate yourself a little bit. And if you want someone to try your thing, maybe you should have them try your thing. That's why free trials work for a lot of people. How often, I'm staring out my window right now looking at Jimmy John's, right? Jimmy John's gets probably $500 to $1,000 worth of business out of us every day just because we're across the street. And occasionally they come by and say, here's a free sample of all this stuff. Why do you think they do that? They do it because they want people to try these things. So if you're trying to introduce something new in your restaurant, take a $50 bet, divide it, into little snippets and say, here's this new thing, compliments of the chef, and see if they like it. Even if it's just customer discovery and you learn from it, do it. But there's nothing different from a restaurant in that perspective to anything online or to a retail store. If you want, it's why retail stores have the rooms where you go in and figure out the changing rooms. Because if you try it and you like it, you're probably going to buy it. There's
Right.
nothing different in any of these kind of scenarios. It's just trying to figure out, okay, it's not just me. It's not my food. Maybe it's frog wa or however you say that. No one even knows what that is, or it's caviar, or it's an oyster, or it's gator. And there's these things, you know, people know chicken, pork, and beef. You know, they know rice, beans, and lettuce, right? So like if you're trying to implement and execute a new strategy or a new food for people and they don't know anything about it, what makes you think that they're just going to jump onto it? People aren't risk takers. But if you say, if you're at a food truck and you say, here, try this like slaw with sriracha on it, and you try it and you're like, that's amazing, then you're probably going to want to buy it. And so there's a reason why a lot of these people put these kind of free samples out there.
So how do you kind of, you know, I mean, you know, we've talked before, like the restaurant up there, you know, we were open, yeah, it was like probably 3 years before I got a paycheck at all. And, you know, I knew the product was good. We were busy, as you've seen before. Yeah. Obviously, it's different for different people. You know, I didn't have a family. I didn't have a mortgage. My car was paid off. So I didn't have a ton of, I could kind of afford to play the long game. But how do you kind of deal with that, you think, where it's not working, but you feel like it should be? You know, you have a good product. You know,
do you go to bed? Yeah, it's a great thing. Do you go to bed every night knowing that you gave it your all?
Well, absolutely. I mean,
I think, but did you give it your all, or did you just cook?
Say it one more time.
So, in your specific case, right? Did you give it your all, or did you just cook really good meals?
Oh, I gave it my all for sure.
Right. So then, if you look at that, and I'm a firm believer that a lot of people quit too early too, and sometimes
I agree.
Right? There's a book, a lot of people's favorite book, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill.
There's also the Dip by Seth Godin's a good one too.
Yep. And so in this book by Napoleon Hill, and I haven't finished it, but you know I got half the book left because like some of my favorite people in the world have told me, and good friends have told me to read it, so I'm reading it, and I'm reading it really slow, intentionally. But there's a piece in it where this guy, I think he's mining for gold, and he gets like 3 feet away and he quits. And then he sells the product, basically the land, to someone else who then goes, okay, I'm going to get a surveyor to look at this. And the guy realizes that if he just hires and outsources someone else to do this one thing, he ends up making like, you know, let's say he sells it for $1 million. The guy ends up making $1 billion from it. I don't know the exact numbers, but basically he didn't like he used himself too much. Sometimes getting an outside opinion can help you do that. And so I understand people don't have money to outsource in those things. But when you have an extra $50, you know, let's say you made $50 profit and, you know, it's there and it's ready, take that money and find a way to get to make that money back again. And so always reinvest that back. And so if you can take that and you can say, look, I'm going to now take this $50 and now I'm going to give away $50 worth of product. And that's the way I'm going to do it to see if I can make that money a different way. Or I made $500 profit this month and now I can go and walk on the streets and give people a sample, or I can do a Facebook ad, or I can go on a TV show, or like there's so many different ways for you to get your point across, your business across. I think that it's the lack of effort in a lot of people's, not just the cooking piece, right? So we know you're doing that, but it's the lack of effort on the other piece, the actual marketing piece, that is difficult.
Yeah.
And so, you know, take that $50 that you have and go buy a whiteboard, and then on that whiteboard buy some Sharpies or whatever the non-permanent marker are. I don't know if you can see, like there's a thing right behind me there, right? Put it out in front of your office and say, you know, open for business, right? You know, maybe save up, you know, a lot and buy a sign, like a big lit sign. You know, there's so many different things. That's an expensive one. I wouldn't do that day one. But there's so many different things that I think people think they're doing a lot when they really look at it, and they're like only doing like 10% of those things. And so
and I think, like you mentioned before, the whole like business side of it, like a lot of us creative people like myself, you know, I don't like sitting at a desk all day. A lot of us we would much rather do the fun stuff, and I think a lot of people think they're doing a good job running their business, but then when it comes down to it, there's a lot of the business stuff that they aren't really paying attention to. And if you really pay attention to the numbers, pay attention to your marketing dollars and all that kind of stuff, you can really figure out like the opportunities, like where they might be and where you can potentially pick up some sales or whatever else.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a firm believer that you should spend very little money on advertising,
especially now. I mean,
yeah, I mean, we spend money heavily, and heavily is like hundreds of dollars during like certain times of the year when we're doing our really big events, and that's it. Everything else is just time. Everything else is just creative ways of getting things out. That doesn't mean that we don't spend money. Like I'm talking about like actual ad buys. Like we spend money on team and strategy and things like that. But like buying a TV ad or a radio spot or a Pandora ad or a newspaper art, like those things we don't do. Why? Because we figure out ways that they can feature us, and then we get on that way. And so a feature is far more important than an ad. And I'm gonna whip my camera around for those of you who've never been to Hatch, but these are just a few of the articles that we've gotten over the years. And it's just by doing good things for good people. We've been featured in Entrepreneur Magazine. Like, it's just like being creative in what you pitch. Don't just go and pitch like, hey, I'm Zack and my business is awesome and that's why you should feature me. No, you got to have some sort of like strategy behind it, be different.
Well, and like
make friends with people.
And you can advertise, so to speak, quote unquote, obviously through social media, but also, on your busy nights, Friday, Saturday night, whenever your busy nights are, you can hand out, hey, here's a free appetizer if you come in on Tuesday or Wednesday night, and get people in the door that way. And it's not actually costing you money except for like the cost of whatever the appetizer was, but the amount of money they're going to spend, on the back end is, night and day.
Yeah, I want to show you something too. Can you grab that sign-up sheet that's at the front door? So, of you guys that are watching now, and thank you guys so much for watching. It really means the world to me.
And hey, Zack, while you're doing that, say your name again and how they can reach you. Just some people were asking. There's actually a couple of folks that are there local. One guy works at Terrapin, I think. Okay,
so Zack Miller. So startwithhatch.com is the website. So it's start, S-T-A-R-T, with W-I-T-H, hatch, H-A-T-C-H.com. You can email me too. It's Zack, Z-A-C-K, at startwithhatch.com. Or just Google Zack Miller on Facebook. On Facebook, it's either Zack Miller 84 or Z-A-C-K. Or I have a business page with my name on it, which I really don't agree with, but there's a reason why I had to do it when the TV show happened. And that one's
maybe you can hop in the comments too.
Yeah. In the comments, you guys can see those things as well. Let me actually do that too. Let me just say, let me do that. But here's one of my favorite things as well. And this thing cost me the price of printing a piece of paper. So everyone that comes into your business is there, right? And so many people get them there and they never get them back. And here's one thing that's great. When someone walks into our office, we make them sign in. And so by getting them to sign in, so this is just from, I think we did an event last Thursday. So this is that, right? So don't steal those emails. But what we do is we just put name and email, and when they walk in, there's a sign that says, please sign in, right? It's that simple. But here's the thing. Now I have all these names and emails of people that have been where I am, or where my facility is, or what Hatch is. And what's great about it is now they have an opportunity, or I have an opportunity to follow up with them. So many people stop following up, and they lose business that way. They get them once, but they never know how to get them a second time.
You there?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. You're missing a huge opportunity.
Yeah, and so it's taking that kind of mindset and making, and you're not always going to get everyone to do it, but it's a way for you to follow up with people. And so it's the networking effect. So many people go to a networking meeting and they never follow up with someone. Quick story: I went to a networking meeting, and I don't like going to networking meetings because I feel like it's just salespeople trying to sell to salespeople, and I can't stand that. It annoys me. I want to like learn about people, not try and be just given a business card or whatever. And so because I host a TV show, I offer the opportunity for people to be like, hey, look, we're always looking to find people that could be a good fit for the show. Here's my card. Reach out to me via email. That's the or text me. It's the best way to reach me. And if you do this, I can start looking at your stuff and seeing if it's a good fit. I did this to 10 people. Not one of them emailed me back. And so it's a missed opportunity. And so people are amazed by that. But like, don't go to a place if you're not going to follow up. Follow up is so key. What else you got, Chris?
Well, I was going to say too. You're saying one thing I thought was interesting. I'm trying to remember what I was going to say. I totally blanked. I can't remember. I don't know. You got anything else business-wise? I mean, we can.
Let me look through some of these questions.
Do what?
Let me look through some of these questions.
Yeah. Read through, and we can do another one of these when I have a better setup too. The yard man was
people
the house
just
making a bunch of noise.
on YouTube. People can just see you with the knife. I mean, that's creepy, man.
Do what?
The creepy knife.
One thing, if anybody out there is a manager or running a kitchen while you're kind of looking at some of those questions, Zach, one thing you can do is, and I'm not a tech guy, so I'm not sure, but you can Google how to do this. You can, to get more traffic to your Facebook page, if somebody wants to log on to your free Wi-Fi, you can make them check. You can make them check into your Facebook page to access your Wi-Fi, which I thought was a pretty cool idea. If you want to get more social media traffic that way.
Yeah. So I would even let's say people always try and automate a process in this case, and I think it's fine. But try and do it manually first to make sure it works, right? So instead of in my case, or in this case, it would probably cost you a couple $1,000s to actually figure out how to do that. So instead, what you can do is what a lot of coffee shops do. And they say, if you want to know what the Wi-Fi is here, you have to purchase it, and we'll put the Wi-Fi on the receipt. Right?
I like that, yeah.
So stop just giving, don't give people a way not to do it. Make sure that that transaction happens. And so if someone says, I want Wi-Fi, or if someone, and so maybe it's not just giving them the purchase. Maybe it's saying, no, go like us on Facebook, right? So I take my dog to a local place when I'm not in the office, and it's a doggy daycare. And so one of their ways to incentivize people, and I think it's clever, is like our page on Facebook, and we'll give you 10% off your next order. So here's the best thing: is you're getting them to pre-order something else. You're giving them a discount, which makes them have to come back, and you're getting them a like, so that when they want to talk to you again, you can communicate with them, because hopefully, in whatever Facebook's algorithm is of the month, that your information will pop up and be there. And so it's so important for you to get creative. I mean, that costs you nothing, right? If 10% off your next appetizer. So what is that, 60 cents that you might be losing? But you're going to get that person back, and hopefully they buy a beverage, and you make all your money back that way. And so you have to be willing. There has to be some give and take in some respects, I think, to say, look, I'm not a big fan of discounts at all, but if you're going to discount in a way that makes sense, where it's look, I'll give you annual access to this thing, and you're going to get a discount, but you're buying in bulk, basically, or you're buying all in advance, or if you buy in bulk, I'll give you a discount. Don't just give a discount because someone is trying to cheapen the product. Give a discount because it makes sense for you, and don't just give away things either, because then people will look at you as the cheap products.
I was gonna say, and don't just give a discount or give. I hate when people give away or have happy hour specials because they make sense business wise, which is good, but the customers aren't really going to find any value in it. I think the more generous you can be, the better value you can provide for the customer. Even if it costs you a little bit more up front, I think the better off you're going to be in the long run, really creating loyal ambassadors for your brand.
Well, I would even, as we were talking about data, I would ask all the restaurateurs there, how often are your customers coming back? Do you even know that? Do you have any kind of do you have any kind of infrastructure in place to know when people keep coming back? Because if you don't, try and find ways to add those things. And again, I'm not talking about anything automated. Even if it's just having people sign in like this, that's a great way. And then when you have some downtime, or your servers have some downtime, have them put this into some sort of like system, like a spreadsheet, and saying, look, it looks like this person keeps coming back. And so you basically can say, or it's the punch card system, right? You know, what's a punch card cost? If you're getting, 12 of those things on a piece of paper and they come back their 10th time, you give them a free sub, but they like it makes sense and incentivize people to do it. Like, don't just do something to do it as a purpose to get somewhere further. And then try and then try and find ways for people to like allow your stuff to be shared, because what's a great, like, so there's a sticker company that we order some stickers from, and when they come in, they have a little card in it, and it says, once you get this sticker, take a picture of it and tweet us at this thing so we can see your sticker in action. Like, do you have at your restaurant a place where people, or do you incentivize people in a way to take a picture of their meal? Is there something iconic about it? Like, because food is all about experiences. And if you can take that very personal experience that you're having one-to-one or one to a few, and you can then share that with your network, you're able to get people excited about it. And if you hear the story about how Handsome Biscuit got started, that's exactly how it happened. There was a local guy who had started the business, and it was going fine. And then one person that had a lot of clout took a picture on Instagram, posted it, and then there was a line out the door every day since. And it's been probably 3 years now. And so, it's finding those people. In that case, if you know that person, maybe it's smart to give them a free biscuit. Right?
Yeah.
But don't, and it might be taking those risks to figure out those things. But, again, don't just give away something for free to give away something for free. Make sure there's a reason to do it.
Yeah. No, I agree, man.
How many people are still on this?
350.
Thank you guys so much for being here. This has been fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. And let's do that. Y'all go check out Zach's page, and let's definitely do this again soon when we have a better situation. I feel bad. I got the music and the crowd and the cars going by, and
it's beautiful.
Guys back here talking, but I appreciate all you guys hanging out, and y'all go check out Zach's page too. I think he has some comments in here somewhere.
Yeah. If you guys have any other questions too, all you have to do is email me, Zack, ZACK, at startwithhatch.com.
And y'all can also message me, and I can link you up with him too.
Yep. And if you want to text me, you can do that too. Here's my card. You can't see it, but these people will. The YouTube one will. There it is. You guys can text me there. What? But yeah, startwithhatch.com. Would love to chat with you guys, learn about more what you're working on. I will give you my time. I will allow you guys to, I will respond. So hit me up. Also on Twitter at ZackMiller84. Zack is with a CK, ZACK Miller 84.
And he's got a lot of great resources on the website, and they do a lot of free educational class. I mean, I watch some of them classes that live stream on YouTube, that kind of thing too. Yep.
Hey John, hey Bernie, hey Sean, hey Jordan. Thanks for stopping by. Do you guys have any specific questions before we get off? I think Sean's trying to get rid of us, or Chris is trying to get rid of us, but I'll answer. It's like the third drunkest town in Mass. What is?
What's the question?
Someone said it's the third drunkest town in Mass. Who is Norfolk is? Or Atlanta?
I'm not sure. But thanks, brother. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Take care, and I'll stay on here and answer some questions as well if you guys have them, or just hit me up on email.
So I need to hang on here then, right? Oh, you're going to comment?
Yeah, I'll comment.
Comment?
Yeah.
All right, rock on. I'll meet you on there, bud.
All right, guys. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
All right, bye.